So the biggest common trend that we keep on seeing month after month, year after year, is that both the Boston and greater Boston markets just continuously keep on appreciating. Now, statistically, if you look at something like a 30-year report and you're looking at year-over-year appreciation over the course of 30 years, normally we're in the vicinity of around 5%, sometimes 5.5%. And that's pretty common for this Eastern Massachusetts market. Now, the rest of the country normally appreciates at anywhere from like 3 to 4%. So we are a little ways above that. But as you know, the last couple of years have just been absolutely astonishing, mainly due to COVID, lower interest rates, and that has been making it the supply and demand very, very difficult here. And as you know, I talk on this channel, supply and demand is the biggest contributing factor to real estate. If there's just not enough supply and there's a lot of demand, that is going to push prices up. Now, today, I found an article that I'm going to share with you, and then we're going to look at some more data once we get past this article. And this is from the Boston Globe, and it's titled, "Goodbye Boston, You Cost Too Much." So I'm going to go through this article with you guys and just read and give some of my opinions on this, all right? So again, goodbye Boston, you cost too much. Massachusetts residents are enduring surging prices that nudge homeownership further from reach and the nation's highest childcare costs. That's true. I think that we are only second behind DC. I have 2 children as well. It is very, very expensive to take care of your children here. Childcare is astronomical. Joan Didion's 1967 essay, "Goodbye to All That," she writes of knowing the time to leave New York City came when at some point the golden rhythm was broken. While it might seem blasphemous for Bostonians to be compared to New Yorkers, there are some similarities in that sentiment for why people are packing up and leaving Massachusetts. And this is true. You could actually, I think I shared this on a previous post, you could look at migration data, both from Redfin has a really good chart, and there's a few others. I think the Census Bureau has another one where people are moving to and from. The rise of work from home policies during the pandemic meant people could work from anywhere and were no longer tethered to an office accessed by less reliable T-Transit or clogged Massachusetts highways, which is true. If your employer allows you to work remotely and not even be in the same state, it could be more cost effective to move out of the state, work out of state, and have, lesser childcare costs and lesser home costs, and still be able to benefit from the income that somebody may make here in Boston or one of the surrounding areas. Beyond the benefits of trading cold winters for a sunny, warm backdrop, Massachusetts residents in recent years have endured surging home prices that nudge homeownership further away for first-time and cost-sensitive buyers. And that's true. I have a lot of emails and text messages from you guys, from each of you guys, trying to figure out what the best neighborhoods are. Where could we get the most for our budget here? Where is the best school district? And, it's a case-by-case basis, but it seems as though people keep on asking me the same questions. On the tax policy side, this is the other thing too. The state's passage of the so-called millionaire's tax has critics saying Massachusetts will lose some of its wealthiest residents to states with more favorable tax rate. So it's a 4% tax on any money made above $1 million, right? So if you made $1.5 million, you could set to be taxed on that 500,000, right? Any dollar amount made over $1 million, and I believe it's around 4%. Salaries in Greater Boston exceed the national average by 31%, which is true, according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor and Statistics. But even that isn't enough to make the cost of living pencil out for many. And so what they're saying is even though we are getting 31% on a national average in terms of income, what happens is that gets eclipsed by the cost of either renting or buying a home, right? These two things are just not in parallel. They're not aligning. Salaries don't really match the rent prices exactly, as Alyssa Kay, a 2-time Boston resident who returned to the city after getting a master's degree in social work in Chicago, but now plans on returning to the Windy City. If the prices were more affordable, I would stay. And that's 100% true. The 2023 National Mover Study by United Van Lines cited retirement lifestyle and job opportunities as a leading reason for Massachusetts out-migration. But while former Boston Celtics player Grant Williams cited the millionaire's tax as a factor in his decision to favor a trade to the Dallas Mavericks, he now plays for the Charlotte Hornets over staying in Boston. Others say the cost of living concerns outweigh those of tax policy in terms of what's driving the everyday person away from Massachusetts. That's true too, right? there's only going to be, while Massachusetts does have a lot of people making over $1 million, that's not the main reason, at least not right now, of why people are moving out. Okay. It's because of the cost of living here. It's because of the cost of childcare, amongst other things. All right. Taxes can influence decisions made by families or businesses, but they are typically one of the many things influencing those decisions. The high cost of living, especially when it comes to housing and childcare, are the leading reasons why people are weighing whether to move out of Massachusetts. And again, that's as I said. The Mass Budget Report released last month's points to migration into and out of Massachusetts using data from and again, this is areas where you could actually look at where this migration is. The U.S. Census Bureau, the IRS, Redfin is another good one to look where people are moving to and from. And it says, while it's too early to get a full picture of the impact of the millionaire's tax, that's 100% true. Like, we won't see the effects of that till later years, right? There's just not enough data compiled. The Mass Budget Report instead cautions that while the state population is still growing, high costs are driving people away. All right, that's pretty much the consensus of this report. The report indicated that 55% of those leaving the state are 26 to 45 years old, and more than 80% of that group had incomes below $200,000 per year. 1 in 6 residents who left Massachusetts between 21 and 22 had an income above that figure. Now, I will tell you, most home buyers are going to be between that number, right? 26 to 45. So even the crazy thing about this statistic is this. It says 55% of those leaving the state are 26 to 45 years old, right? The funny thing is about that is mostly where the demand is coming for a lot of these single family homes and condos is people between those age groups, right? So even though there has been 55% of those people in that age group that are moving out, there is still massive demand for single family homes of people that is within that age group. So I can't imagine what it would be like if we retained that 55%. That is a crazy statistic to me. These are young people who are in the process of starting careers, buying homes, kind of settling down and starting families, Weiss said. These are not people who have any direct personal reason to have a lot of concern about the millionaire tax. And again, that's true. A lot of these people between that age group may not be making over $1 million or significantly over $1 million, where that millionaire's tax is really coming into play. Shannon Gibson, a Fort Worth-based social worker, and her husband had a boomerang move from Texas to Boston and back again to Texas in the past few years, fueled by New England's high costs. While the couple was pulled to Boston for job opportunities, the lifestyle and potential for raising a family, the price tag for housing and childcare was too much for their growing family, which now includes 2 children, right? Basically, you get the consensus here, right? I'm not going to go over it anymore. The biggest 2 contributing factors to cost of living here are going to be your rent, your home. The second thing is going to be childcare if you have children. The other, which they did not mention in this article, is the cost of car insurance is high here too. However, with that being said, even though the cost of car insurance is high, one of the costs here in Massachusetts that is normally, in my opinion, lower is health insurance. Health insurance is generally lower here because I believe there is a lot of competition in that marketplace, which offers more competitive rates for health insurance. And overall, I think health insurance in general is lower here because of the amount of competition. Okay. But again, cost of living normally pertains to housing, and it normally pertains to childcare, groceries, utility costs, stuff like that. You know, here or there could be higher, but you're not going to get like 30 or 40% higher than the rest of the country. Nothing crazy like that. All right, now I'm going to show you some charts that I found on Redfin, which is pretty interesting data. So let's go back in time. January of 2021, our median sale price was $544,000. And I think this is accumulating both single family homes and condos in the Boston metro area, right? Move forward. The next one is 2022, which is right here. 2022 was actually a little bit higher than 2023, right? So 2022, we saw 613,000 back in January. 2023, it goes down to 602. But then, because just so you guys know, 2023, the later parts of 22 into 23 is when rates really started to go crazy. So obviously, the market opened a little bit lower, right? But obviously, it closed higher. And what I mean by that is through the course of the spring market into Q3, we started to inch up way past what this final sale price was for 2022 and 23. It just is that the beginning of 22 started higher than the beginning of 23. Move forward to 24, we're at $671,000. That's a huge difference between $544,000. And again, this is the course of single family home and condo data throughout the entire metro area. Certain markets appreciated 10%, 15% year over year between 21 to 22. It was just absolutely crazy. And as you could see, we're riding this trend up, okay? It just keeps on going up. And then obviously heading into the later months of Q3, heading into Q4, we start to go down, but we're still going to finish the year significantly higher than, so we finished at 665 last year in 2023. We started the year at where we're at here, 665. We started the year at 671. Okay. I think we're probably going to end up somewhere, maybe in this region here of like maybe 635,000, give or take. And the only reason I think that is because I also looked at this data. This is, again, filtered out data. Let's do the single family and condos, okay? This is, again, more of the greater Boston metro areas and towns, right? Over the course of the last few years, or I should say over the course of this year to date, all right, we're up 4.5% from the previous year. Now, again, we're not done with the year yet, right? Today is only October 16th, but we are still significantly higher than the previous year, and this number may end up even higher than that. Now, if I filter this data out by single-family homes, then you could see that this is where part of the problem lies, because this is even higher because of the supply and demand issue, 6.2%. And if you just start hovering around some of these towns here, like here you go, Cambridge, in 2023, we're at 2 million. In 2024, we're at 2.2. Okay. Wellesley, 1.948. We're at 2.1. All right. Brookline went down slightly, 23 to 24. Not by much, by like $30,000. Most of these markets most of them are going up. And that is, this number here is the accumulation of all of these markets. Okay. Now, if you look at condo data, it paints a different picture. This is where it is much less. And that's where you're getting the average, that 4.5. It's at 2.1%. Obviously, Wellesley doesn't have many condos. They could have had something that happened, maybe a newer condo complex that really pumped this number up. But condos are not like, condos are pretty steady. So like the more that you hover over these, of course, there's going to be some towns that are high. But 2% appreciation is not that crazy for a condo. So I say for a lot of people that are looking to, let's say transition from where they're coming from, which may be, a state that has more land, maybe you have bigger single family homes. A condo is a really good transition to start to move into the state, get a feel for certain areas. And then in the future, if you're making more money, then you could upgrade and buy a single family home. Maybe school district is important to you and stuff like that. But overall, I mean, these are scary numbers, guys. Okay. These are scary numbers because even though that interest rates are high, all right, they just came down a little bit. Now they're back at like 6.5%. If the Fed decides to reduce rates even further heading into 2025, I'm scared for what may happen to the supply and demand, because the majority of people buying homes, although are the same people that are moving out of Massachusetts, lowering rates makes home more affordable or more accessible to that group of people. Most of the people that are buying homes are going to be between the ages of 26 to 45. The problem is most people that are the gatekeepers of real estate are not looking to sell. Okay, I looked at a report a few months ago on this. People that are the gatekeepers of real estate are looking for like sub-3 rates before they decide to sell because they refinanced back during COVID. Okay, and they're not going to sell their home and then buy something of lesser condition and lesser quality for a higher payment. Okay, that is what the problem is. That's why what I call them like the gatekeepers of real estate. That's why we are at this point of the market where, certain towns are getting a little bit more single family home inventory, but it's not anything to really move the needle. Okay. Yes, it's becoming less and less difficult to potentially get an offer accepted. You don't have 20 offers on a home, but you don't need 20 offers on a home to make it competitive. You need 2, right? One buyer against another. That's all that it takes. You don't need 20 or 30 offers on a home. Of course, the more offers you get, there's a higher probability you might get a higher price, but it doesn't really matter if people are still paying 6 or 7% over the list price versus, let's say, 10% over the list price. At that point, you're just kind of splitting hairs. It's still competitive, is what I'm trying to say. And a decrease in rates, I think, is going to make it even more competitive. So yeah, I mean, I don't blame people for moving out of the state. It is very, very expensive to live here. There's a lot of benefits to living here. There's a lot of opportunities of living here, but it's also the cost of entry is very high. Okay. It's just very, very high. So if you could kind of ride out that wave, and if you're looking to potentially sell, I would say it's going to be in your best interest, I think, to wait until rates go down even further so that buyer demand goes up. The only issue with that is if you also have to buy in the same state where buyer demand is high and supply is low, you may be in trouble, right? You're just trading one problem for another problem at that point. Yes, you're getting a very high price on your house, but on the flip side, you're also paying substantially more for the house you're going to buy. And then on the flip side, if you decide to do something now, yes, you may be able to get into something, but it's going to be at the effect of a higher rate. And you're paying the, let's say, appreciation of the last few quarters of 2024 in Q2 and Q3. Maybe you could get a better deal in Q4. Maybe you could get a better deal in Q1 of 25. But once those rates start to calm down, I think we are all in trouble. That is my opinion. We are still seeing inventory that is very, very low. It is picked up a little bit, right? But it's still very, very low. And certain markets, certain, hyper competitive school districts, I think they're going to get even more competitive with these rate changes because a lot of people come out of the woodwork. So we'll see what happens. Again, I give my blessing to anybody who stays here and lives here. And I also give my blessing to anybody that decides to move out because the cost is just so darn high. If you need anything, you want any special reports on a certain town, neighborhood, school district, whatever it might be, you're thinking about buying there, you're thinking about selling there, just send me a text message or email me. All my information is in the description below. Hope you enjoyed the video, guys. Have a great day. Have a great week. See you soon. Bye-bye.